The honourable member from Lac-La Biche, St. Paul, Two Hills.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In spring of 2016, I received a meeting request from Adam North Pagan to discuss the 60 scoop. They were frustrated in their attempts to reach out to the government, so asked for my help. The experiences that they related to me of how they and others had been taken from their families and how those that survived were now trying to reconnect with family, community, and culture. I listened to Sharon, who along with her sisters was living with her grandparents on reserve land until a social worker came to visit. Shockingly to the social worker, this family was living in a house with no power, no indoor plumbing, and living on wild meat. So the children were removed and separated. Mr. Speaker, that was in the mid-1960s, the same time when I was growing up. Many, many Albertans lived that way. We didn't have running water in our house or indoor plumbing until I was 12 years old, but nobody came to rescue me. On Budget Day 2016, I introduced 22 survivors of the 60 scoop here in the legislature and helped Adam and his group raise awareness and bring this issue to the forefront. Over the last year, sessions were held all across Alberta to meet with and listen to the people affected. I attended the session held at Blue Quills University. I heard many stories of children being removed from their parents or grandparents and then, to make it worse, separated from their siblings. One of the most touching stories was related by Eva. She told of walking with her 9 children from Saddle Lake to St. Paul, a distance of 30 kilometers, so that she could go to school to further her education and make life better for her family. They walked over 20 kilometers before somebody would stop and pick them up. Eva ended up in Edmonton with her children, trying to go to school and work, but it got too tough for her, so she contacted social services. Rather than lending a hand so she could keep her family together, they took her children, separated them, sending some to foster homes, others to group homes, depending on their age. She talked of the struggle to reunite her family. We are here today because of the province's role in decisions that were made that affected thousands of families, intergenerational. I'm sure that those involved at the time thought they were doing the right thing. The troubling thing for me is that while we can look back at the past and say we were in error, we are allowing this to continue under our watch today. I had the privilege of standing in for the member from Rimbey Rocky Mountain House, Sundry, on the Child Intervention Panel on several occasions. At one of these meetings, we heard from a number of young people that had recently gone through the system. This was in 2017, Mr. Speaker. A young man named Jesse related how he, now 17 years old, had been through 14 foster homes before finally being adopted. He said that after the 3rd transfer, he felt that no one loved or cared for him. The same day, Samantha, also 17, said that she had lived with the same family for over 10 years and was very, very much considered one of the family. They never mentioned the word foster child. Until one day when she was 14, and her foster parents told her children's services would be coming the next day to get her. No explanation was given to her. She was taken from that loving family environment and put into a group home setting. It was only after a FOIP request to view her own file that she discovered the reason that she was removed was her age. Her foster parents were only allowed children in a certain age group. Many people I have talked to that have survived despite the system are frustrated because they are not allowed access to their own files. Even after many, many years, they still have to pay to FOIP their own history, only to have much of the information blacked out, redacted. On Friday, May 18th, I was asked to sit on a panel at the Blanket of Remembrance event in Edmonton to remember a little girl named Serenity. We heard very emotional speeches from both her mom and her dad. Then, right at the end of the panel discussion, a grandmother stood up and tearfully talked about her recent fight to get her grandchildren back from social services. Why did she, a caring relative, have to fight for years against the system for the right to raise her own grandchildren? And tearfully told us that when she finally got them back, she said they're ruined. Back in 1951, when the responsibility was handed off from the federal government to the province, it was handled poorly, to say the least, and that is why we're here today, to recognize the efforts of people like Adam North Pagan and his group for shining a light on this issue and forcing the government to take responsibility for their role. But here we are in 2018, and as you can see by the experiences I've related, the system is still very much broken. This is happening now. We need these departments to open up, put away their black markers, and fix this before we can take another step forward. Or we'll be back here again in the future, addressing another generation. Hi, hi.
The